You are now listening to Nerd Hour. Amateur Hour. Please, allow me to show you something. Let's get to work.
Oh my gosh, so many houses. Hi. Welcome to Film Nerds Hour. I'm panicked because we're lost.
There's a field of houses, and in those houses are houses, and inside those houses are more houses, and inside those houses,
You guessed it. Pancakes.
yeah.
Welcome to Film Nerds Hour. I'm Nathaniel Shoemaker.
I'm no sweeto.
And today, if you have eyes and read the title, we're talking about Vivarium, obviously.
Which is a 2019 indie film that was directed by Lorcan Finnegan.
I'm not familiar with their work, but I love this.
Well, they're Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Or, no. Sorry. I don't know why they said that. That's weird.
They're a Lannister?
Oh, that's where Taiwan is where they released it. So I said that wrong. Scratch that. No, Lorcan Finnegan he's 41. He comes from Dublin, Ireland.
Oh.
So he's Irish. And apparently he came out with a book called Granny Fashion. Whatever
I love it.
That means.
I love it already. Small... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, he has done a couple of other things. I don't think they're as well noted, though.
Sure.
Foxes... He's only done 4, and they're mainly short films. There was Without Name in 2016, and then he also did this movie called Foxes, which I believe is the short film that inspired...
Right, this movie?
Yeah, it's 16 minutes long. Yeah, a young couple is trapped in a remote estate of empty houses, and shrieking foxes are beckoned from their isolation into the twilight world. So if you guys want to check that out...
That's on YouTube?
It is on YouTube by Lorcan Finnegan's channel himself.
That's cool.
Came out in 2011.
Okay, so he made the short film came out in 2011. 8 years later,
Yeah,
full movie. That's not bad.
and then you can also watch it on Vimeo. So it's about 15 minutes and 37 seconds. So about 16 minutes.
I'm probably gonna watch that later.
Check it out. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Same thing with Polaroid. The guy who did Polaroid did the short film Polaroid before that became a full feature too. So that was kind of cool.
And what's that other one? Lights Out. Is that it?
Yep, that
was amazing.
Yeah, and I heard there's still rumors that they might make a sequel, but I know COVID shut a lot of shit down.
Unfortunately.
So that kind of, well, not necessarily shut them down, but pushed a lot back.
Right.
So it was really like Hollywood saying, let's put all the big budget movies out, screw all the little things. So
yeah, but we're not going to get into politics of film. We got to talk about Vivarium, an independent movie.
Which comes from Lionsgate. So, you know,
like half independent.
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't think people were they just didn't want to accept that it was a neat concept.
Yeah.
Because it was too bizarre for them. Because even IMDb decided to do a 5.8 out of 10.
That, yeah.
And I was like...
If you really watch it, it is a very deep concept. And, like... For only an hour 40, it got way more deep than I thought it would.
Yeah, it really is one of those movies. See, because an audience score is over 1,000, says 39%. This is the one time I agree with the critics.
I think maybe the reason it's gotten some negative is due to the ending, to which I'm like, okay, yeah, the ending bummed me out.
I mean, not everything's a happy ending.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
so.
well, yeah.
But
if you guys want to watch this movie, it's available on Amazon Prime Video with a subscription. That's probably the easiest way to watch it. Otherwise, you can get it from YouTube, Google Play Movies and TV, Vudu, and Apple TV. Varying prices, $3.99, $3.99, $3.99, and $5.99.
Go with the cheaper option.
Yeah, go with whatever floats all of your boats. Whether that's water or crude oil. Anyway, very tiny cast. Very tiny cast.
And I appreciate that.
Me too.
Sometimes it's much easier, which honestly tells me that the director got full reign over his project, most likely.
Yeah.
Lionsgate has been doing a lot of that, because they've done, like, Gamer, Guns Akimbo, you know, most people know Lionsgate as the House of Saw with the twisted stake that takes all the barbed wire, or the big literal gate with the lion.
Yeah, seriously.
Hence the name Lionsgate. Whoever came up with that design
Yeah.
to back their name,
That's so cool.
wow, that was clever because it's so unique. Because
That
Universal and Fox are basic,
Yeah.
but like it really,
Legendary Studios, I like theirs too.
they're unique too. See, like I don't know, and it's not because they've been around so long. It's just that Universal's quick to the point.
Yeah.
It's accurate to their name. 20th Century Fox.
Same.
I don't really care if it's owned by Disney. It's Fox. It's always been Fox. It always will be Fox. Fox, they have their Hollywood. You'd expect that because they do big budget Hollywood. So they're all like to their names. And then what is the other big one? Warner Brothers, same thing.
Yeah.
And Disney's literally the same thing. They just literally are trying to promote themselves within.
You know what you just made me think of? There's a company that they change how their logo looks for every movie. Frickin' A24.
That's true.
They change it for every...
A24 is unique.
I just saw the new trailer for The Green Knight, and the A24 logo looks all, like, ancient and Nordic, and I'm like, that's... Or, like, English, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Them?
Blumhouse?
Actually,
Blumhouse?
Well, I was about to say that. Blumhouse does a lot. Like, depending on what the atmosphere of the movie is, it'll be calm and whatnot and family friendly. If it's a horror film, they'd have a whole intro horror of everything going on, which honestly makes me want to make just a movie for them to call it Blumhouse as a horror film.
The Blumhouse. Or I know you hate the in front of
There's
things.
too many the. The Invisible Man. The Avengers.
The Lord of the Rings. Even though we're all listing movies that are great. But still, I get what you mean.
It's just like, why does there need to be a the? You don't have to call it The Flash, or, The Supergirl, or The Arrow.
Yeah, I mean, for Flash, I would say, like...
The Flash...
It makes sense phonetically. Like, you wouldn't say, who was here? It was Flash. You'd say, like, it was The Flash. Because if you say it was Flash, I think Flash Gordon.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe for that things. But you wouldn't call The Legends of Tomorrow
That's literally the title of the show.
I think it's just Legends of Tomorrow.
I thought it was The Legends of Tomorrow.
No, it's Legends of Tomorrow.
Shall we make a gentleman's wager? Look up right now.
Hey, you can look it up.
For that.
I also know because it's right behind you.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out.
Well, I was looking at my Voodoo not too long ago. Because they were having a sale. They're currently having a sale. I don't know by the time this is up if they'll still be there.
We're both wrong. It's slated as DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
They put DC in front of everything.
I know.
But no, like The Black Lightning. It doesn't sound right.
No, it works for some things and it works for some. It doesn't work for other things.
Imagine them putting The Star Trek. The Star Wars.
Okay, again, you're talking about basic English. For some things it works, for some things it doesn't.
The Vivarium.
If this is the content we're putting out at this time of night, we really shouldn't be recording. Okay, so Vivarium, small cast.
Well, going back, to that, and some of the ratings. I mean, one of the big critics' consensus on rating this was Vivarium may confound almost as often as it intrigues, but this well-acted sci-fi horror hybrid has interesting ideas and explores them with style. I think what people had a lot of is it's going to be more sci-fi thriller or more horror, and that turned to be like kind of a sci-fi horror thriller hybrid, and then they were like, well, I don't like the movie because of that.
It might be one of the most slow burn thrillers I've ever seen, but that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all.
That's the different thing, because for me, when I first watched this, I was really into it. The trailer hooked me, and that's very hard to do.
It is
awesome. So hard to do because
getting a hook on you is not easy.
No, especially when it's a concept like that that's so basic but seems interesting. When I start the movie and it's a slow burn, I usually can't get into those. But this held my attention, and it did well. So we got Imogen Poots.
Yes, she was my favorite in this movie. Imogen Poots.
And
Gemma.
She plays the fiance of Jesse Eisenberg's character, Tom.
Yes,
her name is Gemma in the movie.
She's a teacher. He's a landscape person. Sure. Jesse Eisenberg's character, yes.
Thank God he wasn't playing Lex Luthor in those.
Yes. Sinan Jennings as the boy when he's, tiny. Ian Hardwick as the boy when he's an adult, more or less. And last one I feel like we should probably mention is Jonathan Harris as Martin, because Martin was unsettling.
Yeah, this movie did do a great job at rising the uncomfort level very well.
Just in very little ways. Like someone repeating something you said or making hand gestures that are kind of unsubtle.
And that is another reason I don't think people like this movie. I think they like
because it makes you uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable.
Well, no, I think it's those same people who love to bitch about how there's jump scares. But then when they don't, they're like, oh, too many jump scares.
Too many.
I don't like it. And then they finally get a movie that's based on atmosphere, like Alfred Hitchcock, and they're like,
not enough jump scares.
Too slow. Not enough jump scares.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, or just like the movie.
Yeah. Or just, actually think before you say it. Like,
think, crowd. Think.
There's not a second thing. Stop adding one. I know.
Think, crowd.
There you go. You're right. It doesn't sound as good.
But enough with the Omni-Man references.
Yes.
No, but I think for what the director wanted to set out to achieve, the critics have priority in my ballpark way over the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally almost every single one of these films that I have ever seen that get a rating, they're almost always entirely shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing over and over, and I get bored of it because I'm like, okay, no, they're not that shitty. Because it's like everything, Guns Akimbo I think is one of them too.
Oh yeah.
Let me pull that up because Guns Akimbo,
it gets so much shit. That movie gets so much shit.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that we're going a little bit off topic, but I think it's important to why this movie works so well. Because IMDb gave it 6.3, audience score gives it 40%, critics gives it 51%. Why? And their reason for that, which I'm sure we'll do on the channel and review it in depth, so we won't go too far into it. But frenetic to a fault, Guns Akimbo may leave some viewers reaching for the kill switch, but others, it's a video game style violence with plenty of replay value. What do you mean frenetic to a fault?
Yeah. Frenetic?
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? The whole point of the movie is to be hyper.
Yeah.
Are you going to say that Crank was a bad movie because it's meant to be hyper? That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what made this different? So it's stuff like that. It's like these little movies that people just have to get their little niche notch about. So what I'm really trying to say is, like we always do in every one of these podcasts, go watch the damn movie for yourself and make up your mind. And if you have Amazon Prime or you have a friend, go watch it with them. Go steal their account for a little bit.
Don't say that. That's how we get sued. Because people are going to be able to blame people stealing Amazon accounts, which have been happening for years, on us.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with borrowing your friend's account.
Yeah, borrow your friend's account. Don't steal, because stealing is illegal, folks. And we, as people of the public eye, are not telling you to steal. Which is things we have to say legally required.
Because, Amazon has those little membership cards that you can definitely steal that has all of your contact info and everything written on it about how you have to renew it each month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the premium access movie, so you have to go into the digital world and swipe the card. It's insane.
The digital
whole movie matrix of Prime stuff, and you tap on them like Ready Player One.
A whole movie matrix. I love it. I love it so much.
So it's crazy. So don't go in there and steal that. As awesome as it sounds.
Fuck nuts wild. Anyways,
but no, give it a chance. It is free on Amazon, so I mean, really give it a chance, even for 7 days. And a lot of the cool movies that I think we found, or at least for me, for sure, I found because of Amazon Prime, and I just gave them a chance. If they look like shit, they're probably good. You just need to learn how to be open-minded about it.
Exactly.
Vivarium is one of those that as soon as I saw the trailer, I couldn't help but be hooked. And most of the time, I personally go out and buy my indie films just because I'm not out that much.
Fair.
I mean, there's a reason that they're only $15.
Mm-hmm.
Or, 17 at most. They're like 15, 17, and 20. And there's a reason for that. It's because they know not a lot of people want to see them on demand, because if they like them and they're big movie buffs, they want to make them affordable and still make money.
Exactly.
I am supporting of that because I understand the fact that, the movie could be good.
No, he's
or it
just
could
bored.
be bad. So, when you take that into account, you're not really screwed out of a lot of money.
Right.
And the fact that you could sell it and make some of your money back to somebody who probably would want it is the better part too, because a lot of people do that. And then you can have your digital code, and I mean, who knows? I mean, sometimes like I have found myself with a couple of movies that I would never watch again, and I started watching them again, and they were incredible.
Yeah.
They were absolutely amazing, and I was like, man, I'm so glad I didn't sell this or get rid of it, because they're just so damn good. They were great movies. Vivarium is one of those that on my second viewing of it, I had a deeper appreciation because there is a lot to see. Mm-hmm. For something, because I mean the basic plot, as we said with the short film, the basic synopsis of this movie, I'll read it to you. Hoping to find a perfect place to live, a couple travel to the suburban neighborhood in which all the houses look identical, but when they try to leave the labyrinth like development, each road mysteriously takes them back to where they started. So it's one of those kind of loop back type of films. So if you've seen Once Upon a Time, but imagine if instead of just being a big wall that you can't leave Storybrooke, it loops you around. So I would say that's more like Final Girls is a perfect example.
Yes.
The Final Girls, where they can't leave the movie, so they keep running around in circles and they run across the world and come back to the same place. It's great. It's like that.
Yeah.
And that's something that they've always done that you always see. I mean, I think one of the reasons I was so intrigued by this movie is SpongeBob. Seeing Squidward move into that gated neighborhood that's full of squids.
Yeah, and everything's the same. Everyone gets the same things. Yeah, I love that episode.
Is awesome, but also makes me think that they were trying to point out something about racism.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's cartoons, man. They might be throwing subtle shit in, or they might just be fucking off. I don't know.
SpongeBob we'll definitely discuss sometime in some random talk, because SpongeBob was one of those that was supposed to be an adult show.
It was. 100%
and
was.
It still is.
Yeah.
Like,
subtle or not, it
whoo, is. Wow, some of those that you really pick up on when you get older, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
oh, like when you hear SpongeBob go, "Bye, Mr. Crab, bye, Squidward, bye, Mr. Krabs, bye, Squidward."
Yeah,
and Patrick goes, "You said bye, Squidward twice," and then SpongeBob just goes, "I like Squidward."
It's like, okay.
It's like, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense why you're always at his house.
Some women don't match you.
Or why you're sneaking into a shower all the time.
Yeah, that was weird.
No, I think that I've always wanted to see a movie like that where it's laid out, but it's laid out like a house.
Right.
And more often than not, it seems like when you kind of get these movies, they're always full of a community. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I don't like.
No, we don't need a big cast sometimes. Sometimes we do see Mortal Kombat, and sometimes we don't see this movie. Like, it's nice to focus on two characters and just kind of see how they're dealing with the situation they're put in, you know?
Yeah, and, it helps develop more.
It really does. It really does. Like, I care more about these characters than any movie character I've cared about in a long time. Especially, like, big ensemble movies, you know?
I mean, one of the things they taught me in film class, was... And it's really something you can't get away from. Undeserved suffering. This has the best undeserved suffering of your characters.
Like, they did nothing wrong!
This has got to be one of those purest people who are literally just trying to make a life for themselves and paid for it for nothing. Well, they didn't... The way they paid for their... Trying to find their happiness...
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything wrong. Was just like, what did they even do?
Nothing. They you know what they did? They walked into that real estate office.
And you know, the thing comparison before we dive in depth that I really want to compare this to, and I think you could agree with this.
Sure.
This was a more sci-fi take,
Mm-hmm.
a sci-fi horror take on Parasite. What Parasite became.
How so? Show your work.
Now, kind of going into it, if you lay out the ground structure, now Parasite is about how, like its name, it's about the what was the name of the Kim family? No. It had, who are the two families? There was the Kims, and
I'll have to look it up. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
because they came out the same year.
Okay.
Trying to look at the cast here. So there is
Key, and is it Sung? I think.
Kim Song. I don't remember, but it's basically about the one family, the Kim clan,
Oh, it's the Key,
Park family, and
Key, and
Kim.
the Da. Yeah. Because remembering last names are first.
oh, are they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In Korea and Japan and a lot of other countries, the last name is set where we would put traditionally our family name, our surname, or our family name. That is where they put it first. That's why you notice the sister and the brother. It's both Ki Woo and Ki Jung.
That's so trippy.
And the sister and the brother of the rich family, it's Da Hai and Da Song.
Huh. Well,
Regardless,
you learn something new every day. But yeah, it's about essentially the Kim clan, as they say in the description.
okay.
And that's what they're going with, the wealthy
Yeah.
Park family and the Kim clan. I think that's what they were trying to do to make it less confusing for Americans.
Yeah. They always got to do that for us. Because I guess we're idiots. I don't know.
We don't know that much about the culture, as evidently
I know.
I just proved.
As you blatantly just proved to us.
So, anyway, sorry. The Kim clan, basically, they leech off the Park family.
Mm-hmm.
They slowly realize they're rich and slowly start to almost literally kill off every little bit of help.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil that. We want to talk about it later. But yeah, it's
They
slowly put their whole family into working with them via each other.
Yeah, with the Park family.
Like,
so
the brother gets in, then the sister, then blah 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 blah.
and they become parasites.
That's the whole point.
And this is the perfect movie because at the beginning of this movie, I don't remember the exact birds, but there's one species of bird. It's gonna drive me nuts. I'm not gonna look it up. I'll let you guys comment it if you want to do that. And it's the bird that will. What it does is, the mother will put it in another. Will put the egg in another bird's nest and let them raise it. And it'll basically grow up, hatch, kill all the other babies.
Would be the brown-headed cowbird.
Yeah, the brown-headed cowbird. And it'll kill all the other eggs or all the other live babies and then basically trick the mother into feeding it and raising it.
It's known as a brood parasite. And this is on the Wikipedia for brood parasites. A brood parasite are organisms that rely on others to raise their young. The strategy appears among birds, insects, and fish. The brood parasite manipulates a host, either of the same or of another species, to raise its young as if it were its own, using brood mimicry, for example, by having eggs that resemble the host's egg.
Yep.
Do-do-do-do.
So, and how the birds don't tell that, that's twice the size of what I am.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I mean,
with that being said, that's what really lays down the rest of the movie right away. It's a very big symbolism of what's about to happen.
mm-hmm.
So, this is why I connected to Parasite. Because
Right.
literally, it is just the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite of it.
And without a rich family. So basically, what
Yes. So
Gemma and Tom are trying to do.
yeah. So at this point, watch the movie for yourselves, or if you have already seen it, then come back. Or if you don't care about spoilers, stay. because we're going full spoiler territory for this movie in 5, 4, 3, 2.
What? You had your chance. Now, Tom and Gemma, we basically get like a couple shots of Gemma teaching her class and nurturing them, and Tom comes to see her. So kind of skipping kind of to the point.
Well, he's doing some work on a tree because a few birds fell out of a nest.
Yeah, so, which had to do with the cowbird basically kicking him out, as we explained.
Because it's big, too big.
So they basically are embracing. There's a couple of dialogue about friends being like, "Ooh, you guys are a thing," and one of the teachers drew, I think it was Gemma, and it had something to do with sex.
Yeah.
Because he's going through puberty, and he's like, "Oh, you're hot," and then drew some sort of picture that was crude or something like that.
Something.
So, there's that. Not too important to the story.
Yeah. What is important is they're going apartment hunting. They're looking for, because they're going to move in together.
I think was it apartment hunting or was it house hunting?
Well, it was house or apartment. I think they just were saying that they're looking at a bunch of options. Yeah.
So, they end up looking around, and they end up getting an appointment at this one, but they kind of walk into this one place.
It's got little houses on display, and there's a man behind a desk.
It's everything you'd want to see in a real estate agency. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but I love miniatures.
Me too.
My dad used to set up a village.
A Christmas village?
Yes.
My
and I'd always try to play at the taxi, and then my dad would be like, "No! No!" And I'd be like, "Oh."
I knew it,
and then I wait an hour, and then I try it again, and I get a little bit of progress, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'd be like, "Nothing."
There's this comedian I love who his parents would set up a Christmas village, it was a manger scene, which my parents also do. But he would randomly put his action figures in there, like one by one throughout the day. So after they set it up, by the end of 20 days, it's like there's stormtroopers, there's a Rancor, like Spider-Man. Like, oh, why is there an Ewok in the manger?
I mean, that is pretty damn cute.
It is. It's adorable.
What if Jesus was that cute?
Jesus was probably one of the cutest babies, I'd assume. I mean, you'd have to be for kings to show up and give you gifts just because you were born. You know what I mean?
After traveling through the deadly desert. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But so
back to the movie.
Tom and Gemma, they walk in, find a good real estate place, take a look at some of the miniatures, and ask a guy whose name tag reads Martin, who Jonathan Harris did this so well.
Oh, he's so creepy.
The amount of discomfort is what makes this such a great horror film. So...
Because he's so unsettling, you know?
He's so unsettling. And he kind of... The way he speaks gives him... It makes you almost think that, okay, maybe he has like a social disability. He's not around people. Or maybe he's just introverted.
Yeah, who knows?
And so it's like, okay, there's always been those people who are kind of like, they're good at their job, but sometimes they're
little, you know,
they're a little in their own bubble, and they don't try to be. But as he kind of shows them, he's like, oh well, let's take a look at some houses. Yeah. And so Tom and Gemma hop in their car. Yeah. Follow his car.
They're kind of dancing to music. It's adorable.
Yeah, and then they end up driving into this neighborhood where literally all the houses look the same. And one of the things that Martin said is that it is under development, but it's nearly done. All the houses are brand new.
People should be moving in any day now.
Yeah, so it's a brand new lot full of these perfect houses, which, you know, I like the idea of having all houses that look the same, except for the fact of, eventually it becomes creepy, because you're like, that's all you see. The whole reason that, like, neighborhoods are great is, like, you know, especially when I'm doing, like, delivery driving, for instance, you know, it's nice house, nice house, nice house. Ooh, they ripped off part of the Amityville Horror House. Yeah. That's cool. And it's right on the corner of the street, because that doesn't scream creepy at all.
Listen, yeah, I am not at all for living in one of those neighborhoods where all the houses look the same. A, I'd get lost. B, it's just, like...
creepy.
Well, it's that, and it's like, I don't want to... The last thing, you know me, the last thing I want is to show that I live a cookie-cutter lifestyle. Like, I am one of the strangest people you know, and, like, that'd be for me. That'd be a step to conforming, and I'm like, no, I need to be unique and weird because that's just who I am. Like,
yeah, and I get that, which is why I'm very skeptical when you see those townhouse neighborhoods that look the same. It makes you feel trapped because that's
Brayden
all
lives in
you
one,
see.
and I'm like, no. Like every time I go to this place, I'm like, no.
I don't like them because A, all your neighbors hear you, but B, when you step outside, it makes you feel so enclosed.
Yeah.
It's nice when you see everybody like playing and all the kids playing and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, it's an active neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And then when everybody goes in like at night, it feels so creepy.
Yeah, I want to be one of those people who lives in a house in a cul-de-sac. You know, where it's just like, oh, the street ends. Let's make a circle. You know.
Well, because that's almost like a block party. It's almost nice.
It really is.
Every house is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. And then, you know, then you get like the townhouses, they're all the same. Like the construction that we did over here kind of by that other Speedway America.
Yeah.
Where they put that new Starbucks. They finally start finishing those houses.
How do those look?
No.
No? Okay.
No. They all look like the same. Mm-mm. And I was like, okay, A, you could have left the land there alone for nature, but also, why do they look the same?
Yeah.
Why didn't you paint some blue? You painted some blue, and then the rest are like white.
It's too much. For me, personally, too much.
And I'm like, there's apartments over there.
Yeah.
They could just go live in an apartment.
Yeah, if they want something that's the same as everybody else, do an apartment.
Because some of those apartments, believe it or not, I'd rather have an apartment than a town like a house that's like this.
Yeah.
Where they look the same. And if you guys look it up, like these houses are like green. Mm-hmm. And they have one window over the front door.
Oh, that's so weird.
And three sectioned windows on the side. So they got like 3 ways to open. And those on the bottom. And it's so weird. And the hedges and the grass are perfect. Mm-hmm. Which, see, I'm not one of those neighbors that comments on people's grass. I really don't care.
That being said.
Unless it looks like, you know, when you start seeing bunny rabbits hopping through it and like hopping over the hedge.
Humping over the hedge? You want to try that one again? I caught that so fast.
I was just like, oh boy. No. When they're hopping over the grass and be like, I'm free.
Freedom.
It's like, okay, dude, your grass is too long. You're going to go mow it, and then you're going to accidentally almost hit one of those bunnies.
Yeah, that doesn't happen too often anymore, because, like, I know from personal experience with...
The city?
Well, yeah, the city will send you a letter like, please mow your lawn.
Or we're going to make you pay, like, $1,000.
Yeah, or, like, we're going to fine you for, like, something. But it's like...
Or take away your living privileges.
Yeah, and some people are like, oh, that's so stupid. It's my house. Fuck the government. But it's like, no.
It's a neighborhood.
As your neighbor, I don't want to see your house looking like that, okay? I'm sorry if that makes me snooty or whatever. You know,
having people park their junk by your driveway.
No one in particular, I'm sure.
Yeah. We all have those neighbors that, you know, tend to expand their junk towards your yard.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
You know, don't be one of those neighbors.
Please don't. But yes, the weirdest part about this house when he's showing it, and this is just for me personally, I think, the weirdest part about this house, there's a baby room for a boy specifically already in the house, and I'm like,
Okay, it's one thing like with okay, because like, you know, I work with staging gigs. Sure. I have a friend whose aunt does them. And it's one thing when you put a crib in a room.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just staging it, so you kind of leave it open to the imagination. But it's like, you walk into a house and it's like, okay.
You walk into a house you don't own and it's already pre-done. That's weird.
The other part is, too, about that makes it even weirder, is it's like, are you trying to predict my future or some shit?
Yeah, you trying to tell us we need to have kids if we're going to live in this neighborhood?
Or that we need to have a boy specifically? Like...
Yeah.
Makes me uncomfortable. And see, that adds to the more uncomfort. Because you have to think, if all these houses look the same on the outside, they're probably all the same on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what do these other houses have?
Is there ones with girls in there? Or is it just a boy?
Yeah. So it just makes it...
It's so weird.
It's already uncomforting. And honestly, I almost expected there. And I'm going to spoil this ahead of time and just say, there is no other people.
Nope.
You never see a frickin' soul. And
there's a reason there's a small cast, guys.
Yeah, and it really shows towards the end. Then you understand. So, basically, Gemma and Tom want to discuss their situation and kind of discuss the fact of, well, is this right for us? Yes, it's great, but also it's in a creepy, like, everything is the same. They've already set up, like, a crib specifically for a boy. Yeah. And they're like, maybe we don't want to be somewhere that looks exactly the same for our first house.
Exactly. And they look in the backyard, and she's like, so when are the other people going to move it? And Martin fucks off. He's just gone. And I'm like...
And he literally just pops up, like, randomly, too.
At the end.
Yeah, which is, like, weird.
Yeah. But it's like, what, where'd he go? And then they're like, all right. Tom is overjoyed. He's like, great, we can leave this weird place. But then they drive, and they go in, like, 12 different circles. And then he tries driving, and they keep doing it. And they're doing it from, like, beginning of the day to, like, late at night until they run out of gas. And it's like, huh? Like, freaking what? Then they go into the house that they were shown. And inside of it, there's, like, a welcome basket with, like...
Fruit.
With fruit and, champagne. And my only thought there, because they start drinking and eating it, and I'm like, okay, I understand you're hungry, but if trying to get out of the house is already this freaking weird, why the hell are you eating the offered food?
Well, that was the other thing. I'm like, okay, here's the other thing, too. You went in 5 different directions, multiple times.
Yep.
And you literally did a 360. So there's no way of escape. So you're just going to be like, well...
I guess this is where we live. Yeah.
And did they never tried to call anybody, did they?
They had no phone signal.
That's right.
That was a big plot point that I was like, they better not have a frickin' phone signal.
Or, because, yeah, well, you have to almost always add that, because it's a natural reaction.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense, like, oh, well, I left my phone at the office.
That's one flaw someone pointed out to me that I agree makes no sense. How the hell is everywhere these people go in horror movies, there's no phone signal? Really? Like...
There needs to be an explanation more, like the fact that they put a jammer.
or the cell tower got cut down, or like a storm happened and it fell over, something. Something more obvious than like, oh, it just doesn't work. Like really?
Oh, well, it's in the mountains. The signal's not well. Well, they kind of are updating that now, so that doesn't happen.
Or our service ran out, and we were gonna pay for it when
like
we
data.
get back. Yeah,
and that'd be so relatable because there's plenty of people. I have unlimited data personally.
Yeah, me too. Not to flex.
No, but
brag.
But there are people that like don't need it or they don't want to pay the full amount, which I get it.
Yeah, I understand.
And I mean, it's kind of like for me, I'm always doing delivery driving, so I always like to listen to like Comic Storian or some sort of podcast.
Shout out to Comic Storian, great content.
Yes, on Mr. Creepypasta. So for me, it's almost like I love having unlimited data because I can always listen to that. I don't have to rely on my phone. Where other people, they just have that and they're like, well, I really not.
He's getting so bored, guys, talking about his unlimited data and all the money he has. Anyway.
There's those people who just are like, why would I pay for something that I'm barely going to use?
Exactly.
And
that's
that makes
fair.
Actually perfect sense.
Like, if you're a very social person and the people you hang out with them in person
right.
more than anything else, like, yeah, you're not going to need that unlimited phone plan.
I'm not going to sit and judge you for that.
No.
I mean, I would judge you.
Who would I be if I judged you for your phone plan?
I'd probably honestly judge you more if you were paying that much to never use it.
Right,
be like,
exactly. Like, if you had it, but you never used it. Yeah, I totally get that.
Not being a dick, but why would you pay for that much when you're not going to use it?
You know a sentence never is good when you started out with that. Not being a dick, but...
That's why you're going to be like, oh, well, I don't know why you're using it that way.
The weirdest part, I will say, about the food they're eating, it's tasteless. They say it's tasteless. And I'm like...
But see, it looks all real, too. That's the other part.
Yeah.
It looks like real food.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what throws us off. And then they check the fridge too eventually, and there's like eggs.
That stuff is in the fridge, the basket stuff.
That's right, and yeah.
But they like sleep, and then later on they find a box in their front porch, and it's all in the front of in the
front yard.
No, it's in the street. It's just out in the frickin' street, and it's a box full of like food and groceries and all that stuff. And they're like, "Where do they come from? Where do they go?" Like.
Where'd they come from? Got Joe.
I knew it. If I wasn't going to say it, you were. So, then they decide to, like, throw all the food and, like, the cardboard into the house, and they're like, we're gonna set the bitch on fire. So the fire department comes. Nope.
Well,
the house heals itself.
Well, let's not remember. Was that before or after they put a help sign, too?
That was before. Because later they put a
right.
help sign on the house. And it was also after they tried the great plan of, like, we're just gonna jump fences.
Yeah, which, I mean, made sense, because it's like, okay, maybe they're trying to make an illusion, I guess, so maybe if we walk out on foot.
Yeah. But then, that didn't work. But then after the house fire, there's, like, soot and everything, house is fine. Then there's a box with a baby in it. And it says, like, take care of the baby and raise the baby.
Baby and you'll be set free.
Raise the boy and you'll be set free. And it's like, what the hell?
It's like, I get it. Free parenting labor, because you didn't want to do it.
Seriously.
Somebody doesn't have to pay child support.
Seriously. It's so fucked. But anyways, so they end up, like, it flashes forward, and we know how much it flashes forward, because, like...
It gives you an estimate on the days.
Yeah, well, because at first, like, you see the little boy, and he walks into their bedroom that they're both sleeping in, and they both flip him off. Very funny stuff.
Well, because he starts mimicking their voice.
Mm-hmm. And things that they say. And then they, like, feed him food because he starts screaming at the top of his lungs.
Which isn't like a scream. It's like a
screech.
Guttural screech that an animal makes.
Constantly.
You have that cat that, is like...
Exactly.
Yeah, imagine that, but with less of a vibration.
Exactly. And she measures his height and then writes 93 days, and he already looks like he's at least 7 or 5 or 6.
I would say 8.
Yeah, 8. 8's better. But it's like, how the hell is he growing that fast? So...
Which right away I was like, thing.
Seriously, creepy. But then they put all their trash of their food in, like, the box, and they wait to see if someone's going to come out. Tom starts smoking, and he throws the cigarette in the grass, and the grass, like, separates.
Which we get an awesome stop
like
motion of it.
Stop
like
motion.
claymation, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it looks so cool. And he's like, what the hell? And he starts digging, and it's, like, not even dirt. It's, like, red clay thing. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it looks so synthetic.
Mm-hmm. It's really weird.
I really like the shot, too, where they did, like, the claymation, because it made the grass look just as synthetic.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, and it really makes you think, like, okay, this is a whole fabricated reality that they've concocted.
That was my guess.
So it's like, is the food that they're eating, too, because they never explain that, which not really that they need to, but it's like, how synthetic is their food? Is it really just, like, because, there's that one episode in SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs sells a Krusty Krab, and they literally just put that gloppy stuff in there, that gray shit.
Yeah.
Then, like, squirt it on the tube onto the conveyor belt, put it through a mold, spray paint it like a Krabby Patty.
Yeah.
And it's like, did they do that and just mold the food, and that's why it's tasteless?
Seriously, I don't know. We don't know. But then he starts digging, and, like, throughout the movie, he becomes obsessed with just digging, because I feel like it's for the same reason that I sometimes like to build Legos when I'm stressed out, or deck build cards for Magic, or other things, or, like, even count money sometimes, and that relieves my stress. And I feel like it's for the same reason that he's digging this hole throughout this movie. It's giving him a sense of control. It makes him feel like he is in control of this situation, even though he very clearly is not.
Well, it's the only thing, I think, to make you, in a situation like that, keep you from going insane.
But inadvertently, he kind of becomes insane because he's obsessed with digging this hole to the point where he starts sleeping at the bottom of it.
Well, we have to put that more into context, because the reason he starts sleeping down there is because more and more this is where the symbolism comes in. Gemma is more interested in trying to raise the child because she becomes her mother, her nature side of...
Her maternal side.
I hate this thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not a kid. And there's multiple times throughout this movie she keeps saying, I am not your mother.
Yeah.
But she keeps caring for it.
She keeps raising it, putting it to bed.
Before Tom starts sleeping in the hole, there's a couple of scenes where they try to be intimate together.
They have sex.
And then there is one scene where they finally do have sex, and then you just see the thing watching them.
And I'm like, ugh, so gross.
And it literally just, like, sits there through the creek door. There's nothing worse And this is what I mean. It's the subtle things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just seeing him with one eye through that door, just sitting there, just watching, was
so
creepy.
weird.
That's the worst part of Stephen King's It, the miniseries, is when you see Pennywise and you see him say hi, and then the curtain breezes by and you just see him with that twisted face. He went from happy to, with the music, to that snarl, and it's like, oh, no, I don't want to see that.
It's so weird.
Because if you watch that still image...
It's still terrifying to you.
It is, because I'm like... It's like opening your blinds and seeing somebody who's, like, on the other side of, like, a yard without a fence. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you close your blinds for a second, and then you
no.
open it, and they've gotten closer, and now instead of a smile, they just have this snarl, like, with wide-eyed, like,
yeah,
I'm gonna get you.
Exactly.
It gives me goosebumps right now, because it just, that's like a trigger for me, because it's like,
for sure,
you don't know what a person's gonna do if they're willing to toy with you.
Exactly. So they end up, there's a lot of things that happen throughout the course of the movie. They, like, they turn off the TV, which is weird, because when you turn on the TV, it looks like a maze forms, and then it zooms in, and then it does it again.
And really?
On a loop.
This is the first time, and I applaud the team that came up with it. That TV is indescribable.
It's so unsettling.
What's on that screen, you cannot... Like, okay, there's like a book... You know, like, everything is by a book. Like, you cannot describe the shape or the color. Mm-hmm. I wish that was the same case for Color Out of Space, because, like, this, I can't describe what the hell it was. It was like a bunch of
like
Rorschach images.
Rorschach,
yeah.
It looks to me kind of like, if you look through a microscope at some microorganisms, it looks like them growing, then you zoom in, and then it does it again, zoom in, does it again. Doesn't repeat the same way, but it just keeps doing that forever.
It kind of looked like that, yeah, mixed with Rorschach images, kind of, because it changes.
Mm-hmm. But then, or you mean Rorschach, the comic character?
No, the actual
Rorschach tests. Okay.
Yeah, because they kind of blend, but it's kind of like Rorschach's mask, where it's ever changing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like the images, but if they were all moving in a video.
You made me think of my favorite Big Bang Theory line just now. He's like, if Sheldon goes to a therapist, if you're doing your standardized Rorschach tests, my usual answers are A, a bat, B, a bat, C, a bat, and D, my father trying to kill my mother with a hypodermic needle. So funny. But, so that happens.
We also get a scene where Tom is fed up with Gemma's shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not raising this fucking thing anymore.
It's a mutant.
She's like,
stop calling it a boy. It is a mutant. And he, like, flips his lid. Well, let's also give him credit, because there's also after they sit in the car, find out that the battery still works. So they start dancing around, listening to music. Kid joins in, makes him fall and hit his head on the curb. And he's so frustrated after that, he picks up the kid and throws him on the curb. To which I was like, Jesus, like, I know it's not human, but God, like...
And then there's me who was unflinchy, because I'm like, it's a mutant.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that, because
she asks, like... Sorry. She asks, are you okay, to the boy? Which, like we were saying, it's that maternal instinct.
Which I feel like a lot more men have, but like...
Well, if we're talking about men, then it's paternal.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of men have that nurturing side, but I feel like
I
Tom
do for sure.
really had that scenario of... It wasn't even toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
It was like, really like, I see this for what it is, you don't.
Exactly.
And I can't... you know...
It's perfect in that line that he says for, stop raising it. What are you talking about? You're putting it to bed and making it watch cartoons. Like...
There's like, you know, and this is like, because I'm not really a Jesse Eisenberg fan of him as a person.
Okay.
But like, in this movie, like, there's some performances where you just can't help but be like, damn, he pulled it off so great.
He's a good actor.
And this is one of them where it's like,
Social Network is great. Him in Social Network. That's probably like my favorite.
I'll have to check it out. Because this is amongst one of my favorite Jesse Eisenberg movies. Because it's like,
well,
he's not too overly hyper.
Oh, yeah.
He's like really serious, and he's like, he has an ideal. His character has an ideal, and he sticks to that. And when it comes to tensity, it's just his face. Like, it demands authority. Like, I am not putting up with this shit anymore.
if you want that whole stereotype of like the whole thought that you're having of Jesse Eisenberg like completely abolished, then we need to watch American Ultra. He plays a stoner, and it is great.
I've seen clips of it with
It's
Kristen Stewart.
It's so good, and she's great in that movie too. I don't care what people say. She was bad in Twilight because the writing was bad.
Get over it. Twilight was shittily written.
Yeah.
End of story.
Exactly. In any case.
He says as he looks at his Twilight books. Yes.
Yeah.
I have them because I wanted to give the books a chance, and they were only $1 at a Goodwill.
Might as well.
So
Fucking well. That was aggressive. I didn't like that. Anyways. So yeah, after that, it kind of... He gets the idea of, oh, perfect. He locks the kid in the car, and then she's like, what are you doing? He goes, we're going to starve it, and then they're going to have to come and get us. But she's very much of the thought of, like, if we keep raising it, maybe they will come get us. Like, she's very naively hopeful, and he's more of a realist. And
Which
I
is
like
me.
that dynamic. Yeah.
because I'm like...
No.
No.
This is us in that movie. I would be like, all right, let's raise the kid. It might be a demon thing, but let's raise it. And you'd be like, nope, fuck this.
I'm black. That's
Yeah.
a demon. It's a mutant. Kick it in the face and make it launch into the sky.
You'd be like, we're not playing your games. Like, you'd be like, we'd rather die than try to do what you want us to do. And I'd be like, can I get a say?
Speak for yourself. No, I speak for everyone.
Exactly. But she ends up letting it out.
Which, one other side note, they keep changing. They mention that the sun and the sky, like the clouds, are the same.
All the clouds look like clouds.
The sun doesn't necessarily look like the sun.
No.
It also looks like the sun.
All the clouds look like clouds. They don't look like anything else.
Yeah, and then...
Like, he disappears for a day.
Well, I was going to say...
The boy does.
That the house, when they start writing the help sign, eventually it changes. And eventually it just says,
fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good defiance.
And it was like, that's great.
No, but they end up, the boy goes missing for a day, and then he comes back, and she goes, who did you talk to? And he's like, I can't tell you. And she goes, can we play pretend? And, which is a very smart way to trick this kid. But she's like, can you do your impression of me? And then he does. Can you do your impression of Tom? Then he does. Can you do your impression of a dog? Then he does. Can you do your impression of anyone else? Yeah, she like sits crisscross, totally like makes him buy this, and she's like, she's perfect.
Can you do another one?
And she's like, do you know anyone else? Maybe someone you met today? Mm-hmm. And then his neck puffs up, and I was like,
well, no, that was the worst part. The worst part was when I first saw it, it was like, not only did his neck puff up, because you mentioned the TV thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about it for a bit, yeah.
That the guy who was talking to him through it.
Yeah. Oh, no, we didn't mention that, but
it turns out that somebody's talking to him, which is why she asks him, did you talk to somebody else today? And that's when he does this, and she's like, thing. Can you describe them and talk like them? Then he swells up his neck like with these two sacks, like lungs.
Yeah. And
then he starts letting out this horrible bellow.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw this, I was like,
fuck,
hell no. Like, oh my god, Gemma's face was exactly what I was feeling.
She was like crying, like she's so scared.
I don't know. If they did practical effects for that, I think that might have... that kid knows how to act.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Well,
and it made me like... I was like, this is why I don't like little kids.
Yeah,
this exactly reminded me like when a kid says, I think I saw a demon under my bed.
Oh, you've heard that story, right?
I've heard a couple.
No, do you know the classic like urban legend of that?
No.
So here's how the urban legend goes. We'll get back to the movie in a second. This is important because I want to scare my friend at 4 a.m. So how it goes is a father is tucking his son into bed at night, right? And his son goes, Dad, I think there's a monster under my bed. And he goes, okay, I'll look. And when he looks under the bed, he sees his son, terrified. And he says, don't trust the thing on my bed.
That I did hear.
You did hear that one?
Yep.
What was your reaction the first time you heard it?
First time I heard it was like...
All right.
I mean, that is exactly what hiding in plain sight would be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Scary. But at that point, I'd be like, which one of you is the shapeshifter?
I think it'd be more like me getting goosebumps and then just doing what Randa did in Skull Island as soon as you heard the skull crawler.
Yeah.
Which was along the lines of Lily.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
And then just ate. Yep. But so then after that experience, quote unquote, we flash forward and he's aged up even more, and this is where we get the fuck you on the roof of the house. He's aged up even more to where he looks like an adult, and she starts following him to try and find out where he goes, but she loses him. And then her and Tom, she can't find her way back to Tom, but then they find their way back to each other. He's still digging the hole, but he keeps getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And it's to the point where the hole is so big that he puts his full ladder down it so he can and he's like got a pulley system with buckets. But while he's digging, he finds a face.
Yeah, which he freaks out about.
Yep, understandable.
And it turns out that it's also part of a body bag.
Yeah. But then, before he can tell her any of this, he dies.
Well, not right away.
Well, yeah, right after he sees that and they find each other, he passes out and then he dies.
Yeah. Well, I want to cut too short because he's alive for a while and they have a couple of good moments. The mutant, now fully grown, starts to take a walk.
Yeah, and she's like, you need to help him. And he goes, maybe someone will come for him. And then he walks away.
Yeah, he's just a total shallow dick. And then she gets him out of the hole, and they have a couple of good moments together, and he feels bad that he's been such a dick to her. And then she dies in her arms, basically.
Yeah, and then she gets sick of it. Well, my favorite line is, why the hell didn't I let you kill him when he was little?
Yeah, and then the monster comes back.
Well, she sneaks up, and she sneaks up on him.
Well, after the mutant puts Tom's body in one of those bags, and then what does he do?
He comes back with a bag and puts it in the bag and throws it down the hole.
Oh, yeah, and he fills it all back up.
Well, not yet. But he also locks himself inside of the house. So he's the only one in the house.
Right, and Gemma's waiting out there like...
in the car.
The hell?
She's sleeping in the car. And then when he starts to do his daily walk, she's sick of it. She's done. She grabs the pickaxe that's in the car and hits him with it. Pretty good. And he starts shrieking. His head's bleeding. And then he crawls underneath the fucking street.
Okay,
like, he lifted up the sidewalk and crawled under it. And she had the exact reaction I did of, what the hell?
It's kind of...
That's how it works? That's how you've been disappearing and people have been taking boxes without us knowing this whole time? As you've been underneath the street?
So if you guys wanted to have something fear more than Pennywise, that's it. Or for those of you who've seen Markiplier's FNAF...
Well, no, don't fear that. Fear the fact that she follows him in. And
we'll see. What really freaked me out, though, is that he not only proceeded to screech, he did the classic open wide eyes and then crawl on all fours like a spider, and then picks up the street and scurries into it.
And then she
puts the pickaxe under it so it'll stay up, and then starts crawling through it, and she falls through these dimensions like fabric of reality.
It looks like she's seeing the past of like when this has happened before, or perhaps it's the future of when it will happen again.
I thought there was a symbol of different numbers too.
I didn't see that.
Because I was assuming, though, that all those other houses...
were different houses, and this was happening at the same time?
Different happenings.
If it was happening at the same time, wouldn't they be able to see each other?
That's the whole illusion, though.
I think
that's why they can't leave.
Maybe it's the fact that it's like that's house number 9, so this is the 9th time they've done it.
That could be.
That's my guess. But she sees a lot of people like going through the exact same experiences that she is, and then like falling downstairs and everything sideways, sees people having sex, drops in on people in the shower, like just craziness with hyper different colors.
Yeah, we have like one that's all blue, one that's all red, one that's all green, one that's all yellow.
And I'm like, what? And then she gets back and she starts to die, and he's putting her in a bag. And then they have a very, like, interesting exchange, which is similar to when he was younger and he was asking questions, but now she's asking him questions and he's answering them decisively. And one of my favorite bits is he's like, "It'll be okay, Mommy." And she goes, and he goes, "What was that?" "I'm not your mommy." And then he goes, "Whatever." Throws her down the hole, fills it up, walks. Does he walk or does he drive? No, he walks. Oh, yeah, because he gets their car.
Yeah.
He drives, and then he stops at that same place, and we see Martin again, but he's super old, because I guess that's just the aging of these things. He takes his name tag, puts him in a bag, crunches him up.
Rolls him up like a sleeping bag.
And then puts him in the drawer and closes the drawer, and then some people walk in, and I'm like, oh, same thing happening again. So it's like... That's why we get the beginning shot of the invasive species, because that's what they are. They trick us into raising their children.
Now, one thing I was disappointed about is that they don't explain the monsters. Like, at least in society, they explain what they are.
See, I like it, though, because it leaves it so much of a mystery that my brain is running wild with how many of this is happening. Is there more of them than there is of us? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it just makes you wonder. And I kind of, like, I don't like it. I just feel it's unfortunate, too, because it's kind of those you want to know, but you don't want to know.
Exactly. It's like Joker's origin. Even though I do know it, I'll be honest, he was scarier before I did. You know?
Like, the thing for me, too, like, with society, is, hate it if you want, I do like the idea that they aren't even aliens.
Yeah, they were like, we've been here...
They were humanoids. Like a subhuman species.
Yeah, we were here just as long as you've been.
We just were in our own area.
Exactly.
But it makes you feel like, wait a minute, though. You could do all that. So you could literally be anywhere at any time.
When a movie makes you question your own stasis of reality, that's where I either teeter toward yay or oh no.
This movie is absolutely incredible. I know we were kind of all over the place with it. It's really one of those movies you need to watch for yourself. It is.
I give it a 9. Solid 9. 9.2.
I would give this a 9.5 because of the fact that it exceeded my expectations. The acting was amazing. Yeah. The child actor that they got was amazing.
Oh, he did that perfect.
Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots. Relationship in this was the dynamic was perfect, like an actual couple. Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect. Great. So this movie is a 9 out of 5 for me, and that's the reason it's on my favorite. 9
out of 5. You mean 9.5 out of 10?
9 point.
It is bigger than the stopping point.
Yeah, 9.5 out of 10.
9 stars out of 5 stars.
So this is, and Cena said it for itself too. Vivarium is the perfect horror movie for coronavirus self-isolation.
Disturbingly enough, yeah, that's perfect.
So, if you ever feel trapped, you can always remember, it could always be worse.
Yeah, if you ever feel trapped during these difficult times we're living in, it could always be worse. I hope that's a comfort, but who knows, maybe it's not at all.
Hopefully it is.
Yeah,
but yeah, that is help you. That is Vivarium. I almost wish there was another movie that could be just as
stick in your mind. Yeah. I can think of a few. I can think of there are a lot of Hitchcock movies that kind of leave a lot of things unanswered, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he did it in such a way that, like I said, this doesn't deserve half the hate it gets.
No.
For those that are really hating on it, it's because they don't understand or they didn't get their little happy ending, and that's something that needs to be incorporated in a movie more.
Yeah,
movies more. That's what the one good thing about Wonder Woman 1984 was. Is that while the story was weak, it did really illustrate that not everything is just everybody gets to go home at the end of the day.
Exactly. People die,
and you can't always get what you want.
Well, and Donald Glover tweeted about it earlier. He pointed out, he's like, I hate how people in this industry, they get shit on for trying to do something different and creative, and they get praised for doing things everyone has been doing since it started. You know, and it's like, yeah, I agree with that, because it's like, it makes people more afraid to take risks just because it's not guaranteed that they'll make a paycheck, you know? And that's not what... I don't feel like that's what movies and TV should be, you know?
And it's a lot of the reason why I think even the people I know don't give indie film movies a chance. And I'm like...
Yeah. Before you, I didn't give many a chance. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's really one of those, like, even my dad is like, and I'm like, don't do traditional Hollywood. I love you to death, but
yeah, and
traditional Hollywood is nothing.
There are parts of traditional Hollywood I love. There are parts. See big budget blockbuster madness. But, like, there's a certain art to be had in this kind of... Like Clerks. That's one of my favorite independent movies.
It's one of mine, too. It's so well crafted.
Mm-hmm. For, like, $40,000?
And it's like, the man made his bank back.
Oh, God. Made so much money. Like,
so
it was insane.
It's kind of like all those people lowballed him. It's like, oh, well, I want to get an autograph. It's like, nope. You don't get nothing. But Kevin Smith, I think, is like, he's too nice a guy.
Yeah, his personality between him when he first started out and him after he had his daughter, very different paradigm shift. Very different.
He's just been like, oh,
yeah,
everything is better.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's what having kids does to you sometimes. But thank you all for listening. I hope you watched Vivarium, and if not, you know, it's whatever. Hope you enjoyed the show. Go ahead and like, comment, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor. Anything else they should know? Facebook?
Yeah, you can join the Facebook group. There's also the Instagram, so if you guys want to take a look at that, there's also that too. So
we'll post more on there, for sure.
Feel free to do that, and
email us if you have any suggestions.
Yeah, or comment in the group or on the Instagram. Eventually, when we get more of a editing team together, we'll post more fun stuff on there so you guys can interact a bit more. So
thank you to everyone. Thank you to the YouTube community as well. We just, I think, by tomorrow, I'm guessing, we'll probably hit 50 subscribers, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but for us, starting out this early, it feel like it is. You know what I mean?
You know, I don't even have to say it's a lot. It's just the fact that people
care. That's nice.
Caring, and so it doesn't really matter how many views you get because it really, at the end of the day, people are enjoying it, and that's all we want.
Although I will say, it feels kind of good knowing that Kong Skull Island's going to hit 2K soon, and Evil Dead's going to hit 3K soon. That feels awesome.
Because they're both underrated movies as well.
They're so underrated. So much hate. We have so many dislikes on Kong. But without further ado, he's been Noah Sweeto.
And he's been Nathaniel Shoemaker.
Thanks for listening. Have a good night.
See you later.
Bye-bye.